morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to my presentation of the summative number 1 of the subject of communicative language activities and strategies of reception, in which today we will be discussing 6 questions based on my opinion and what we saw during this unit. So let's start. Question number 1 is, what is the CEFR? And why is it important for our language teaching profession? Well, the CEFR is the acronym of the Common European Framework of Reference. Yes. And just as its name says, it is just like a common basis or the rubric itself to assess the language of learners, the things that a learner can do. And it is not that, oh, you got an A or an F, so you approved or not approved. No, it is not that. It is just a rubric that is used for the students to set on a level of things that they can do in a certain language. It helps to maintain a specific order. Without this, maybe knowing the hi, my name is in Japanese, it's already an B1, and knowing the hi, my name is of English is just an A1. So maintaining this common European framework of reference helps to have an order in between languages. Institutions use this framework to level a learner in between the 6 levels that there are. It goes from A1 to C2. And with the things that a learner can do, the institutions put a specific level for that learner. Now, what does it help us in our teaching professions? Well, in my opinion, what I could say now is that for me as a teacher, it helped me with my lesson planning. It helps me to know the level of my students and to accommodate the lessons according to their needing or a specific level that they have. Question number 2 is, what is your opinion regarding the move from skills to models of communication, especially moving from referring to listening, reading skills to the process of reception? In my opinion, I don't think I have a strong thinking of this. In fact, I am very aware that now I am being part of a change of English language teaching that wasn't done before. Maybe in other places it was, but not in this institution. And I am really happy about it. It means that we are not stopping from evolving to the past era to new ones. It means that the traditional approaches that we were taught before are now being changed to new approaches and new methods for teaching and learning, which now, with all the technology and new thinking that we have, we embrace a more diverse and adaptable way of analyzing information, improving all those approaches that once slowed the growth of knowledge. Number 3 question is, were you aware of the cognitive process involved in reception and how they ease or hinder comprehension/reception? Even though I had some ideas about what the cognitive process is, I didn't have it well known, to be honest. I had the thinking, but I couldn't really explain it or elaborate onto it. So now with this unit, I can speak of it. Now that I'm aware of what are the different methods or approaches a teacher must have and educate to students, explicitly or implicitly, but we have to teach how students need to improve their reception skills. This is a form which can ensure us as teachers that they will be capable of recalling that same topic from the previous lessons and don't stop the learning from them. Not knowing about this subject before would have served me as a barrier for me as teaching, because I would say, why do they need? They just need to follow this order and know this. but it was not about me teaching them to have those reception skills and how to develop them. So knowing about this is clearly a improvement for me as a teacher. Fourth question is, how effectively have you used context to help students develop better reading/listening skills? We know that context is really important for learning a language. And it has happened to me that when I am teaching and we get to read a paper, I first need to introduce my student to that reading. I'm going to say, if the paper is sports, we will talk about sports and the life of Cristiano Ronaldo doing soccer. Okay, I will say, hey, do you know soccer? Do you like soccer? Do you have your favorite soccer team or soccer player? And then I will say, do you know Cristiano Ronaldo? Okay, what do you know about him? This is important because that is linked to the next question that is about background knowledge. But focusing on context, it can work also, for example, in the in-text reading. They don't understand a bunch of words. That is normal for students not to. What I will do in my classroom is that they will underline those words that didn't understand and then trying to read the whole sentence from the whole sentence and giving a meaning. You don't know the word, but read the context and write it if you want. Then, when you finish doing all that, talk to your classmate about that word. Find the meaning with another person. When we finish doing all that, then I open a whole group discussion so they can tell me their answers and I can say, yes, you're on the right track, or let's think about another idea. In that way, I'm encouraging students to use the context, not only in in-text reading. I give them the opportunity to do that with their reading, so they will be implementing it extrinsically or intrinsically in different part of their learning. And that is the way that I do it in my classroom. Talking about it, let's go to next question. How do you help your students get or use background knowledge effectively? Were you aware of this importance? Yes, I was. But again, I was aware of it, but I couldn't know why. I just knew it was important. And I use it by the way that life taught me to use it. Now I know explicitly that it is important and what to do. But when I was teaching, this subject is something that I was very familiar with. And I have one example. When I was teaching, I teach for around 3 years. And all these 3 years, I only had groups of weekends. What does that mean? That I only teach one day for hours. And I knew my students didn't study in between those days. So I had a lot of time to prepare it and give them activities to activate the background knowledge that my students had from previous classes ago. And I used a lot of these to recall information from structures or grammar that they didn't remember, but they knew. The example, one example that I can think of, it is the third conditional, that it talks about regrets. It's like, if I had been doing that, I could have done this. I didn't say, hey, do you remember third conditional? Because students will say no. I said, hey, do you remember the class we talked about past? Do you remember that Ed's students comment that he didn't go to his dreamt country because that and that? They are recalling the information. They are having that background knowledge bring back to the class. And consequently, they will remember the third conditional that I was about to explain again. Background knowledge can not only be thought to be on grammar, but it can be also from cultural knowledge that you have, general knowledge that you have. If we are talking about culture, then I will say, hey, do you know any famous person that is not from Mexico? Yes, Gustavo Cerati, he's Argentinian. Okay, and what do you know about the Argentinian culture? We are giving now the method of brainstorming ideas that students already have, and that is background information. It's just play with what students already know to introduce new ideas. Last question that we have now, I think is a reflection. How has this unit changed your understanding on reception and how listening and reading occur in your mind and your students' mind? Are there new decisions to make on your next lesson plan? And for what I can say is that this unit has helped me understanding in more deepness how reception works for students and what can I do for students to use those skills and what can I do for me in order to teach them those skills. Even though I had already some methods in mind and methods that I already used, I can now integrate even more thanks to this unit. And about my lesson plan, I think the remarkable thing that I have for this is the CEFR, still hard to pronounce, will be my guide mostly. Because what I did with my lessons plan was just followed by my heart. But now I can actually assess my student with one level that they have and work with it. Being more precise on what I'm teaching and what will they be learning according to my students' level and the challenges that they might have with the language. That is everything from my part. Thank you for watching. See you next video.